I used to think that routine meant everything was okay. I'd wake up at the same time every day, eat the same plain breakfast, kiss Caroline on the cheek before she headed out to work. Life was predictable. I co-founded a small engineering firm, kept our home running smooth, and she climbed her way up in the marketing world. We had 2 kids, a decent house in a quiet neighborhood, average cars, and a couple vacations each year. Most people would call that a good, stable life. Until one morning flipped it all upside down. I walked barefoot into the upstairs bathroom, still shaking off sleep. The light came through the blinds at a weird angle, casting these long shadows across the floor. That's when I saw something small, shiny, and out of place near the sink. I bent down and picked it up, a little foil circle from a pill pack. It had the letters TU on it. Tuesday's pill. That would have been fine, except it was Wednesday. Neither of us took daily meds, at least not that I knew of. Our last doctor visits were clean. We were healthy. So what was this doing here? At first, I brushed it off. Maybe it was old. Maybe Caroline was helping a friend. But then something clicked. The size, the shape, the packaging. Birth control. That hit me like a punch to the gut. 2 years ago, I had a vasectomy. Caroline and I had agreed 2 kids were enough. So what in the world was she doing taking birth control? A cold weight settled in my chest. Maybe there was some harmless explanation, but each excuse I came up with felt thinner than the last. I locked the bathroom door and started digging. Under the sink, behind the towels. Finally, tucked inside a tampon box, I found a fresh blister pack of birth control. Opened. Active. A few pills missing. She'd been taking them regularly. Quietly. Behind my back. I stood there frozen, holding that pack like it was radioactive. Caroline and I met when I was 25. I was still in school, buried in textbooks and caffeine. She worked as an assistant to some executive at a local company. She was sharp, confident, had this quiet fire about her. We got married a year after we started dating. 9 years together. 2 kids. A dog that barked at leaves. I thought we had a solid thing going. My first thought, embarrassingly, was, is she sick? But that was just a dodge. Second thought was, is she cheating? I did not confront her. Not yet. I knew better than to go in blind. I needed the full picture. I needed proof. So I went into planning mode. I started thinking like an engineer, process of elimination, step by step. Her boss crossed my mind. Bill Wright. Mid-40s, divorced, good job, smooth talker. She mentioned him often. Too often. If it was him, this was not a one-time slip-up. This was planned. Quiet. Long-term. That afternoon at work, I ordered DNA test kits. 1 for me. 1 for each kid. I also ordered some hidden cameras and tiny voice recorders. I already knew the perfect spots. The bathroom, the bedroom, her car. It all started with 1 small foil wrapper. But I knew from experience, 1 clue is all it takes to uncover a whole mess. That night, I sat across from Caroline at dinner, the pill pack right back where I found it. She chatted like normal. Daycare problems, some supplier mix-up at work, how Sophie scraped her knee at the playground. I smiled. I nodded. I played the part. You would never guess that just hours earlier, I was on the bathroom floor holding that pack like a live grenade. I let her think everything was fine. I let her kiss me. I even let her lead me to bed. But all the while I watched. I listened. I studied her like a test subject under glass. The next morning, I kissed her goodbye, said I'd be working late, and headed straight to the electronics store. Picked up a burner phone, a cloning kit, a few micro cameras, voice recorders small enough to fit on a keychain. When the guy at the counter asked if I was filming something, I just smiled and said, sort of. Then I went to the pharmacy and picked up the DNA kits. Swabs. Prepaid mailers. No questions asked. That weekend, she left the kids with me and claimed she was going out with Amanda, her co-worker and go-to excuse. They were supposedly shopping and grabbing lunch. Thing is, I had overheard Amanda at a work party once say she hated shopping. So while Caroline was off doing whatever, I took the kids to a play center, let them run wild for a couple hours. Then we went home and waited. When she got back, I kissed her cheek like always and asked if Amanda was still wearing those ugly boots. She laughed a little too quick and nodded. Another red flag. Later that night, once she was in the shower, I installed the cameras. 1 inside the bathroom vent. 1 tucked behind a fake book on the nightstand. one under the mantle in the living room. Motion activated. All synced to a flash drive I'd swap every few days. Then came the waiting game. By Wednesday, something new happened. Caroline left her purse on the kitchen table while she was tending to James. I noticed the zipper was open a bit. Inside, I caught sight of something black and plastic. Another phone. I did not touch it right away. I knew she would notice if it moved. But now I knew it existed. That night, I faked a walk with James. Came back early. Rushed upstairs. The phone was gone. She had taken it to the bathroom. She was being careful, but not careful enough. That night, while she slept, I found it hidden in the bathroom vent. No lock. No code. Either she was arrogant or she trusted me too much. What I found in that phone broke something inside me. Texts. Voice messages. Photos. No real names. Just pet names. Darlin. Boss Mun. Your girl. Then I saw it. A picture of her, on our bed. Same headboard. Same sheets. Wearing lingerie I had never seen. Pose on all fours. Someone else took the photo. Another photo followed. A man's chest. Shirtless. Pale. A distinct mole near the ribs. I'd seen that mole before. Bill Wright. My boss. The man I've shaken hands with. The man who sent flowers when James was born. The man I golf with once a month. He was sleeping with my wife. In my bed. I copied everything off that phone. Cloned it. Installed a tracker. Put it right back where she hid it. Next morning, she made pancakes like nothing ever happened. Said she had an early strategy meeting. That night, I called in sick. Drove to the lab that was processing the DNA tests. Results were not ready yet. But I had another errand. I parked outside her office. Sat there and waited. Sure enough, Bill showed up. No briefcase. No laptop. Just sunglasses and his smug little smirk. Half an hour later, she came out smiling. Alone. I followed her car. She went straight to a mid-range hotel near the highway. Not the kind of place you take a client. The kind of place you take your lover. 2 minutes after she walked into that hotel, he showed up. They stayed inside for a little over 2 hours. When they finally came back out, they went their separate ways. Caroline returned to work, and he drove off in the opposite direction like nothing had happened. That evening, Caroline came home, dropped her keys in the dish like always, and asked me how my day had gone. I told her it had been productive. She smiled and said, "Good. Mine too." At that point, I already had her second phone, the hidden birth control, and video of her lover walking into a hotel room with her. The only thing left now was the paternity results. Once I had those, that would be the final nail. By Friday, I was all business. No more questions. No more trying to talk myself out of what I already knew. I had every room in the house wired. Her burner phone was cloned. I had photos, video, and messages all piling up like a thunderhead on the horizon. I still wasn't exactly sure what I'd do once the DNA results landed, but I knew this. I wanted the truth. Cold. Hard. No emotion. Just the facts. At the office, Michelle, my assistant, was the first to pick up on the change in me. She didn't pry at first. Just shuffled meetings around and blocked out time on my schedule like she could see the wheels turning. But that Friday morning, she walked into my office holding 2 coffees. Shut the door quietly behind her. "I don't want to overstep, Gary," she said, voice gentle. "But something's off. You're too controlled, like you're holding your breath." I looked at her. Michelle was one of those people others misjudge. Thoughtful, steady, and a hell of a lot tougher than she looked. Divorced, no kids, sharp as a blade. She handled legal contracts better than most attorneys I knew. You ever wake up one day and realize the person you build a life with isn't who you thought they were? I asked. She didn't flinch, just set the extra coffee on my desk and said, "Yeah, want the short version or the war stories?" I nodded. Let's start at the beginning. That night, long after everyone else had gone home and the janitor had mopped the floors, she and I sat alone in the conference room. I laid it all out. Her second phone, the texts, the photos, the burner number she used to message Bill. Emails sent through private accounts that somehow slipped past our IT filters. Michelle scrolled through the phone, her eyes narrowing. "This is your boss. He used to be my mentor," I said. "And now he's the dead man walking. I'm just trying to figure out how to bury the body without going to prison." She cracked a small smile. "Metaphorically, I assume." I didn't answer. She handed the phone back and stood. I know someone you need to meet. Lawyer. Divorce specialist. She doesn't mess around. If you're serious, she'll make it surgical. Is she discreet? She's a steel vault. And she absolutely despises cheaters. Saturday morning, I dropped the kids at my sister's. Told Caroline it was a surprise errand for her birthday. She bought it. Said she was heading to the gym. As soon as the house was empty, I swapped out the flash drives from the cameras and plugged them into my laptop. Most of it was uneventful. Her folding laundry, helping the kids with schoolwork. But around midnight on Thursday night, she went into the bathroom with her real phone. I watched as she looked at herself in the mirror, then posed, snapping a photo. Not for me. She walked in the hallway, pulled the vent cover off near James's room, and slid the phone inside. Thought she was clever. She wasn't. I pulled the phone, cloned it again. Quicker this time. I knew the dance by now. The next day, the DNA results arrived. I locked my office door, shut the blinds, and opened the email with Michelle standing quietly beside me. I didn't ask her to stay. She just did. The words hit harder than I thought they would. Paternity report, not a match. For either child. Both kids, not mine. Some types of pain don't cry out. They just settle into your chest like cement. Cold, silent, and impossible to shake off. Michelle didn't say anything. Just placed a hand on my shoulder. Want to take a walk? She asked after a while. No, I said. I want to talk to Lorraine. Lorraine was the lawyer Michelle had mentioned. She was just like she'd been described. Tough, direct, and absolutely ruthless. Wrapped in silk, but sharp as a scalpel. You're not the first man to sit in this chair with that look on your face, she said, flipping open a notepad. But you're one of the only ones who came in calm. I'm here for results, not sympathy. She smiled. Let's get to work. We talked through everything. What I had, what I needed. Surveillance legality, asset protection, custody logistics, now that the kids weren't biologically mine. Thank God we had signed a prenuptial agreement when I launched the company. It protected all my business interests. Caroline would only be entitled to my salary and savings. Then I told Lorraine about Bill. She leaned back in her chair and whistled. An office affair between a boss and a subordinate? That breaks every human resources policy in the book. If we go public, he's finished. And her, she'll be lucky not to end up in court. Michelle handed her the flash drive. This is from Thursday night, she said. We watched the footage on Lorraine's monitor. Front hallway, Caroline greeting Bill with a kiss, him letting himself in with a key. Then came the worst part. My son James calling down the stairs. Hi, Papa Bill. I stood up, silent. I didn't yell, didn't curse. I just stood there. Michelle touched my arm. You ready to take them down, Gary? I looked her dead in the eye and said, let's burn it all down. Coming back to that house felt like walking into a crime scene. Not because of blood or broken glass, but because every picture frame and throw pillow was a lie now. Sunday night, I pulled into the driveway like I always did. Caroline's car was parked out front. Kids' bikes leaned against the garage. A neighbor across the street waved at me while watering her flowers. It looked so normal. I walked inside. Caroline was folding laundry on the couch. She looked up, smiled. You're home early, she said. Did the trip get canceled? No, I said, taking off my jacket. Just finished up early. She kissed my cheek. We missed you. I studied her face. She did not even flinch. You doing okay? She asked, catching something in my expression. Just tired, I said. That night was like any other. Dinner, bath time, stories. But I was watching everything with different eyes now. Her voice cracked while reading to Sophie. I couldn't tell if it was guilt or exhaustion. Later, we lay in bed, her back to me. The fan above us clicked steadily like a clock running out of time. I never sleep right when you're gone, she whispered. I said nothing. Monday morning, I left early. But not for work. I had one more visit to make. Bill's wife, Stephanie Wright. She lived in a gated community, the kind of place where the cars cost more than my annual income. I had been to her house before for work events. She opened the door before I could knock twice. Gary, she said, this is not about work, is it? No, I replied. She did not invite me in, but she did not close the door either. I just need 5 minutes. You have 3, she said. We sat in her sunroom. Everything was white and clean and cold. I think your husband is having an affair with my wife, I said. I know, she said flatly. That hit me harder than I expected. He's done this before, she added. But this time, Caroline is different. He brings her up, talks about her. It's more than physical. I slid a flash drive across her coffee table. Proof. In my house. My son called him Papa. Her eyes burned with something between rage and grief. That son of a bitch, she whispered. We sat in silence for a moment. You are not planning to tell him yet, are you? She asked. No. Good. He deserves to sweat. Then she gave me a piece of information I never expected. Did you know he recommended your wife for partner last year? What? Stephanie gave a slow nod, then walked over to a side table and pulled out a folder. She placed it right in front of me without a word. Inside were company documents, the kind I probably should have seen before, but never had. I flipped through the pages. There was Caroline's name. She was listed under a mentorship program, attached to special project bonuses, signed off for travel reimbursements, assigned to confidential initiatives, and every one of them was personally approved by Bill. He wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was prepping her, grooming her. For what? Leadership? Influence? Hell, maybe both. He's not just after her in the bedroom, Stephanie said, arms folded. He's positioning her to take my spot. At work, and maybe at home too. It felt like someone kicked me in the gut. This was not just an affair. This was a hostile takeover. I was not being cheated on. I was being replaced. You have legal counsel? She asked. I have too. Smart. You're going to need every bit of them. I stood up, still trying to wrap my head around what I had just seen. She walked me to the front door, but before I stepped outside, she paused. There's one more thing you should know. Bill's got a safe in his office. Bottom drawer on the left side. It's fingerprint protected, but there's a key override. What kind of stuff does he keep in there? She let out a humorless laugh. Contracts, emails, flash drives, even cash, probably. The kind of secrets you do not want anyone to see. How do you know all that? Because I helped him choose the safe. And once, I watched him open it when he thought I was asleep. She reached in her pocket and handed me a tiny brass key on a chain. You never got this from me. I don't even know your name, I said with a straight face. She closed the door without saying another word. That same afternoon, I walked back into the office. Michelle was already waiting in my chair with a brown paper bag. 2 sandwiches inside. She looked up as I stepped in. Well, she asked, without needing to elaborate. She's on my side, I said, and she just handed me the combination to everything. Michelle didn't smile. Not really. It was more like a quiet readiness. Then it's time to make our move. I waited until Thursday rolled around. That was Bill's usual day to duck out for his weekly networking lunch. Same cigar lounge, same drinks, same phony handshake routine. I watched from the conference room as he strutted out of the building, sunglasses on, acting like he owned the place. That used to be something I admired. Not anymore. I didn't bother waiting for the elevator. Took the stairs, 2 at a time, up to the executive floor. Michelle was close behind, clipboard in hand, looking like she was headed to a meeting. No one would think twice. She waited near the hallway corner while I walked into Bill's office. The smell hit me right away, cedarwood and overpriced cologne. That kind of scent that tried way too hard to say power. The safe was exactly where Stephanie said it would be. Bottom left drawer, snug against the back. I could see the soft blue glow of the fingerprint scanner. But just below it, there was a keyhole. I pulled out the brass key, slid it in. It turned with a solid click. The drawer released with a hiss, like the air itself was trying to escape. Inside was no cash, no gold, no secret retirement plan, just trophies. A hard drive with CC scribbled on a label, Caroline's initials. Printed photos. In one of them, she wore that green blouse I had bought her for Christmas. Her hair was a bit longer, and she was kneeling in front of the camera. I stopped flipping after that. There were also 3 sealed envelopes. 2 were marked Partnership Track, Private. One had Caroline's name on it. The 3rd envelope had no label at all, just a return address from a law office in Houston. Inside it was a draft of a personal contract. Bill's name, Caroline's name. A non-disclosure agreement, explicitly laying out intimate conduct, company liabilities, and, this part stopped me cold, a clause about relocation and severance in the event of a pregnancy or a dispute over paternity. My hands weren't shaking from rage. They were shaking from control. It took everything in me not to smash something right then and there. I pocketed the hard drive, took pictures of every page, and carefully put everything back where I found it. Michelle looked at me as I locked the office door behind us. "You all right?" she asked. "No," I said, "but I will be." Back in my own office, I hooked the hard drive up to a laptop I kept off network. No internet. No risk of anyone wiping it remotely. Michelle stood silently behind me as I opened it. Bill was organized, thorough. Emails, recorded calls, surveillance footage from hotels, offices, you name it. Caroline was in a lot of them, but she wasn't the only one. At least 3 other women from the company, including someone in human resources. Michelle leaned forward. "How'd he hide this?" "He didn't," I replied. "He just buried the ones that got too close." One folder stood out, C and G, plan. I opened it. A video, audio recorded, probably by Bill himself. Caroline's voice came through first. "I told him I wanted another baby." Bill chuckled. "And he believed you?" "Of course. The vasectomy was his idea, but I played it like I had second thoughts. That gave me cover for the pills." "You're sharp." "I have to be. He thinks he's in control, but he's just another puppet." Then came her laugh. That laugh used to warm me. Now it made my stomach turn. I paused the video. Michelle looked at me. "Still want to bring it all down?" I did not have to say a word. She picked up her phone and called Lorraine, the lawyer. "Start the paperwork," she said. "We're going scorched earth." That night, I could not go home. I drove for hours. No destination, just blacktop and broken thoughts. Eventually, I wound up at a hilltop that overlooked the city. The skyline twinkled below, calm and pretty. It was the same city where I had built everything. My business, my home, my family, and my delusion. It hit me then. I had not missed the signs. They just built this whole thing behind my back, brick by brick, while I was too busy holding up the roof. I was the scaffolding. Now it was time to tear the whole house down. Monday rolled in slow and heavy, like the pull of a lever on a trapdoor. By 9 o'clock, Lorraine had filed everything. The divorce, the custody challenge, the complaint with human resources about the office affair, the motion to freeze assets. Every move was backed by hard evidence, including that video of Bill walking into my house and my son calling him Papa. And I was not going to tell her privately. "I want her served at the office," I told Lorraine, "in front of the whole damn glass building." She raised an eyebrow. "That kind of showboating doesn't help in court." "It's not for the court," I said. "It's for me." That is when Michelle, trying to lighten the mood, joked, "Well, short of putting it on a Super Bowl billboard." And just like that, the idea stuck. I made a few calls, pulled in a couple of old favors. One from a guy I knew in digital billboards, another from a friend who worked events. Cost me close to $10,000, but I didn't hesitate. That Monday morning at exactly 10 a.m., a giant LED screen across from Caroline's office came alive. Same building where she had, according to footage I had collected, made out with Bill right against the lobby wall more than once. On the screen, no images, just plain white text on a black background. A short loop. Caroline Adams, senior marketing executive, wife, mother of 2, engaged in a 2-year relationship with her direct supervisor, William Wright, while her husband raised children fathered by another man. Enjoy the footage. HR.G. No curse words, no pictures, just cold, hard truth. I didn't go down there to watch it play, but Michelle did. She parked herself at a little coffee shop across the street and gave me the blow-by-blow over the phone. She just stepped outside, Michelle said. She's frozen, staring right at it. And Bill, he's still inside. But HR just walked past his office with 2 lawyers. "Gary, it's starting." I didn't respond right away. I just sat in my chair at work, hands folded, eyes fixed on nothing. Not triumph, not pride, just quiet. Later, I opened my home security app. Caroline had left the office. She was home. I watched through the camera feed as she rushed inside, tearing through drawers, checking the air vent in James's room. Her hidden phone was gone. She knew the jig was up. Still, she tried to reach me. 12 missed calls. Then a message. "Please come home. I can explain. We need to talk." Explain? She already had. In that recorded conversation with Bill. The one where she said I was easy to manipulate. Predictable. The one where she let him play house with our kids like it was some kind of joke. Then another call came in, this time from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. Checked it afterward. It was Bill. Gary, listen, we should meet. Man to man. There's no need for all this. We can sort it out like professionals. I didn't even let him finish. I deleted it. There wasn't going to be a professional solution. By lunchtime, Bill had been escorted out of the office. Caroline's workspace was locked down. The company issued a no-comment press release. HR opened an internal investigation. That afternoon, Stephanie called. That was brutal, she said. Sleek, I honestly didn't think you'd go through with it. You didn't see what he had stashed in that safe, I told her. I don't need to. I live with him. You hit him in the only place he ever felt anything, his reputation. Caroline, she tried one last time. You ambushed me. I never stopped loving you, Gary. I just lost my way. I hope, for the kids' sake, we can fix this. Fix it? That evening, I went home. She was still there, clinging to hope like it was a tattered old coat she couldn't throw away. I walked in through the kitchen door, and there she stood, red-eyed, makeup smeared, trying to hold herself together. You don't have to destroy me, she whispered. I brushed past her. You already did that yourself. The kids were asleep. I didn't want them to hear any of it. She grabbed my arm. Please, Gary. The kids still need us. Together. I turned to her, steady. They're not mine. The words dropped like a hammer. She staggered backward and sat down hard in a chair. You tested them? I nodded. Both. Neither is mine. Same dad. Same lie. She broke. Right then and there. Covered her mouth. The sobs poured out. I watched her fall apart. Whatever part of me used to ache to comfort her was gone. They say war doesn't always prove who's right, just who survives. And the truth is, even when you win, the dust doesn't lift. It just settles into the cracks. You keep breathing it in long after the battle's over. That night, after I laid it all out, what I'd done, the billboard, Caroline didn't scream. She didn't lash out. She crumbled. I didn't plan this, she kept saying, over and over. Didn't plan to lie. Didn't plan to get pregnant. Didn't plan to love a man with power and no conscience. But she still carried it all out, step by step. Calculated. Hidden. Precise. Some part of me wanted to feel sorry for her. The rest of me wanted to toss every photo of our wedding into the fireplace and never look back. I didn't sleep there. Drove over to Michelle's. She opened the door without a word. Just stepped aside. She already had a blanket and a glass of water on the end table near the couch. I'm not here for comfort, I told her. I didn't offer any, she said quietly. Fair enough. But that night, I woke up in a sweat. Some twisted dream. James calling me dad, then morphing into Bill and laughing in my face. I sat up, hands clenched, breathing hard. Michelle appeared from the hallway, silhouetted in the bathroom light. You okay? She asked. No. She walked over and sat down beside me. You'll be, she said. I stared up at the ceiling. How do you stop loving kids who aren't yours? She paused for a long time before answering. You don't, she finally said. You stop believing the lie, and then you decide whether what's left is still love. I did still love them, even after all this. It was messy and painful and confusing, but it was love that had not gone anywhere. Monday morning, Lorraine called with updates. Bill's on the ropes. HR is knee-deep in emails, texts, everything. He's officially suspended. Caroline, too. Not fired, I asked. They're both bleeding, she replied. It's just taking time. Then make it faster. We're ready to file the second motion, she said. Custody and paternity dispute. Once it's filed, she'll have 30 days to respond. And the kids, that's where it gets tricky. She was right. In the eyes of the law, I was still their legal father. Unless I challenged that specifically Caroline could push for joint custody, maybe even spousal support. James and Sophie had my last name. My insurance. Everything. Michelle leaned in. What if you don't fight for them and you don't abandon them either? What do you mean? Just put things on pause. Keep them out of the crossfire. I nodded slowly. That same day, I went home. Not to Caroline. To the kids. James ran to me with a smile, arms wide. Sophie asked why I had not tucked her in the night before. I said work had kept me late. I didn't cry when I saw James's crayon drawing of us holding hands with a big red dinosaur. But I wanted to. I was still Dad. At least to him. Caroline hovered in the hallway. Quiet. Diminished. Like someone watching their life slip away in slow motion. "Can we talk?" she asked softly. I stayed right there on the floor with James. He was explaining his drawing like it was a masterpiece. And honestly, to me it was. Later, after bedtime, I followed her into the kitchen. She looked smaller, like someone had taken the stuffing out her spirit. "I don't want this to ruin the kids," she said. "It already has. I just mean for their future. Their stability," she said quietly. "I don't care what happens to me anymore." That was new. I raised an eyebrow, expecting a reaction, but she just took the hit. Didn't flinch. "I'll sign anything," she added. "If you want the house, take it. Full custody of the kids? Fine. If you want to disappear and never speak again, I won't stop you." I looked her over for a long second. "What about him?" I asked. Her throat moved as she swallowed. "Bill's finished. He was already coming apart before any of this. He used me, and I let him." I almost laughed. "You let him into our home, into our bedroom. I don't give a damn if he used you. You used me." She nodded slowly, tears slipping down without a sound. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I asked. "Why wait until everything fell apart?" I leaned in a little closer. "Because you needed to feel it. All of it. Every inch of the fall." That week, the Billboard story made its way to the press. Someone leaked the footage to a reporter. It wasn't me, but I didn't lift a finger to stop it. Bill's name was trending for a full 24 hours. Then came a silence. The kind that ends careers, not with a bang, but with a door closing behind you. Caroline took a leave from work. Unpaid. Moved in with her sister for a while. She barely called the kids. I kept everything steady at home. No more hidden cameras. No spying. Just bedtime stories, morning pancakes, and endless Lego battles. One night, Sophie looked up at me and asked, "Are you and Mommy still mad at each other?" I hesitated, then answered gently, "We're working through some things." James chimed in, beaming, "I think you're still the best dad." That one cracked something in me. I tucked them into bed, then walked into the kitchen and cried into the sink. Quietly, not because of the affair. That wasn't what hurt the most. It was everything after. It was brushing Sophie's hair while she told me about her school play, and then asked if I'd still come, even if Mommy says we might live in different houses soon. It was James handing me a picture he drew with crayons, me, Caroline, and him with the word team scrawled at the top. It was the quiet moments that made me question if all the pain was worth setting the whole thing on fire. Caroline never contested the divorce. Lorraine, my lawyer, said it was the cleanest case she'd ever filed. No objections. No attempt to fight for my company. She didn't even try to poison the waters. She knew what she'd done. I gave her the house. Not out of kindness. Out of strategy. I refinanced it under her name, bumped the mortgage, and rolled the equity into my business account. She could have it, and the debt that came with it. As for the kids, I could not bring myself to terminate my rights. They were not mine biologically. That much I knew. But they were still mine in the ways that counted. On the nights they were sick. The mornings they danced in the kitchen. The way James wore my old flannel like a superhero cape. Instead of walking away, I signed limited custody. Weekends. Alternate holidays. No child support either way. Not until I was sure. It bought me time. Time to breathe. Time to figure out who I was after all this. The business? That part came easy. Robert, my old partner, handed his shares to a new company we had quietly built in Nevada. The firm was now owned by a trust. I kept the CEO title, but only paid myself a modest salary, enough to cover rent, food, and the occasional bottle of decent scotch. Bill, he was pushed out 6 weeks after the scandal broke. He signed an agreement to keep things quiet, but Stephanie, his wife, made sure the right people in our industry got just enough info to bury his reputation. Last I heard, he was trying to run a consulting firm in Arizona. No one was returning his calls. Caroline sent me one letter. Typed. No signature. I know I can never undo the pain I caused. I will carry it with me, but if you ever want to talk, really talk, I'm here. No defenses. No lies, just the truth. Caroline. I never wrote back, but I kept the letter. Not for closure, not out of hope, just to remind myself it was all real. Something to hold in my hand and say, this happened, and I survived it. Last month, I took James and Sophie on a little getaway. Just us three. Rented a small cabin by the lake. No phones, no screens, just water, woods, and the kind of quiet that heals things you didn't know were still bleeding. We fished, laughed. I taught James how to skip stones across the water. Sophie read to me by the fire, pausing every so often to explain the big words, like she was the teacher and I was the kid. On our last night, I asked them both, "Do you know how much I love you?" James nodded right away. More than space. Sophie added, even more than real dads. That one hit me straight in the chest. I did not correct her. I just pulled them both into my arms and held them a little longer than usual. Michelle still works with me. Same sharp eyes. Same calm presence. We never crossed any lines, despite the long days, the late nights, the quiet stares when no one else was around. But something's there. Not romance exactly. Something deeper. Survival. Now and then, when the office is quiet and the weight of the day sits heavy in the air, she'll look at me and ask, "Do you ever regret any of it?" And I always give her the same answer. Not yet. That is the story. The husband, the wife, the boss. It all came crashing down, brick by brick, like a house built from dry sticks and blind trust. But in the rubble, I found something worth keeping. A quieter life, a steadier kind of love, and a strength I didn't know I had. This was never about revenge. It was about clarity. And now, I see everything exactly as it is.